Hello! Is anyone else impatient for the Knuckles series to finally drop? Well, I sure am. To buy some time, let's take a deep dive into what we've seen of the Red Echidna so far. One of the first things I notice about Knuckles is that he is very confident and has very strong convictions about his purpose. This is because of his life of training and preparation for the moment he would find the Master Emerald and kill Sonic, whom he sees as the one responsible for the annihilation of his beloved tribe and father. He criticizes Sonic for clearly not having the same regard of discipline and training. He sets himself up as quite a formidable foe right off the bat. He may not be as fast as Sonic, but he is still pretty fast. He also doesn't seem very dazed from getting hit by a car even, so he's extremely strong and durable, and he actually knows quite a bit more than Sonic does about Sonic's own background even. Knuckles is aggressive and quick to assume the worst about others, yet still open to alliances as we see when he teams up with Eggman after hearing him out. With that said though, he is also very naive for perhaps assuming that people on average are just as serious and honorable as he is. Eggman and Stone seem to see this immediately as they treat him like he's stupid while pretending to be his allies. Knuckles is too foreign to the way people behave on this planet to fully realize how nasty they are to him and that he's obviously just being used. However, he doesn't hesitate to rebuke Eggman for abandoning his loyal henchman Stone, calling that dishonor. He still goes along with him, but is now watching him more carefully. I love that while Knuckles is naive when it comes to how people behave, he is also extremely moral and won't let anything slide. Upon watching the history of the Echidnas versus the Owls play out, it does seem to me that Knuckles never really questioned whether or not his people were right to use the Emerald, since it gives someone so much power, which makes his decision to guard the Emerald with Sonic and Tails at the end surprising, like he's finally softened his grip on his beliefs enough to realize that he wasn't right about everything. But he also wasn't wrong about everything either. Even if he fears this at first, we see him almost throw away everything he believes after he is saved by Sonic, like he's so shaken up because everything he thought was a lie, or so it feels anyway. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. We see Knuckles' anger towards Sonic falter when Sonic shows him genuine empathy upon hearing his side of the story, but he quickly falls back on accusing him soon since he's just not ready to trust him yet. This is an interesting thing to say because Knuckles is too trusting in general, and yet he refuses to trust Sonic. Perhaps it's Knuckles' generally trusting nature that makes it easier for him to trust even the one supposedly responsible for his heartbreak later. Another thing I noticed is that for most of the movie, Knuckles takes himself so seriously that he resents it every time Sonic tells a joke, seeing that as weak. However, we see at the end of the final battle he is awkwardly trying to make his own jokes. Maybe this is reflective of how he's able to trust these new friends a little more. One thing Knuckles does not see as weak is loyalty to friends or comrades. He notes Sonic's loyalty to Tails and disapproves of Eggman mocking this. In spite of all his disapproval and suspicion of Eggman, Knuckles is loyal to him until the end. I think Knuckles sees an alliance as sacred, something that is dishonorable to break, even if you kinda want to or need to. But it's not just that. Knuckles saw Eggman as a friend. He's not just angry that he deceived him, he feels betrayed. Once Eggman breaks the deal, I mean. After Knuckles and Sonic save each other, I think Knuckles is now aware that he doesn't understand people, making him much more cautious and even paranoid. But he's too exhausted to argue with Sonic all that much and slowly opens up to him again. We see that Knuckles has actually envied Sonic's carefree attitude this whole time and asked him how he could be so hopeful after he lost everything and still continue to fail sometimes. Sonic tries to show him that maybe Knuckles could be that way too if he had friends and family to support him just like Sonic does. And so, a much more humble, slightly less confident, but still confident Knuckles kind of awkwardly joins the family by the end of the movie. My final thoughts on the character is that Knuckles was never a bad person, even if he was the antagonist, or at least an antagonist. He was just extremely convicted to honor his tribe and his family and do what he feels he is responsible to do. I know I kept saying he doesn't understand how people work and he is very naive, but none of that is because he didn't try to learn. I think he was actively learning as he was on Earth. Like Sonic, he grew up in isolation, but I think even more so he doesn't have the same experience that Sonic has with people by now. I think Knuckles is less of an antagonist than Shadow will be. I think Shadow has been a lot more emotionally scarred than Knuckles was, although Knuckles definitely was. It's just Project Shadow is intense, okay? Based on what has been leaked so far, it sounds like we are getting Jim Carrey's Eggman back. There might even be time travel in Sonic 3. And also, it sounds like the Black Arms will be in the Knuckles series, or at least some variation of them. I am so here for that, but mainly I want to see more character development. I think the writers did such a great job with Sonic and now Knuckles already. Knuckles was not dumb or so serious that he wasn't funny. He was funny. And I can't wait to get to know him, Sonic, and Tails even more as the series progresses. And I'm also really looking forward to how they tackle what I think is a more difficult character to write, Shadow. I think the most difficult aspect might be keeping the show family friendly with a character like him, just because, yeah, it's pretty dark, but I think they can make that work. They're just really good at what they do. So yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about it. It's been a long wait, but I think it will be worth it. Thanks for listening, guys. I'll keep you posted.